Hi, Sagittarius. So yeah, as I mentioned, there's this idea, and it was a feeling I had while I was shuffling of someone coming in back into your life. They may have already entered, even though we have the Six of Summer here in kind of the future position, but then we have this reconciliation energy in kind of the past position. So it may be that their energy was already coming back in, and you intuited that, or just that you had already reconnected, but then maybe in the future you reconnect in a more face-to-face type of way. But I think that it's a very attractive energy for you, this reconciliation energy, this energy of someone from the past returning. It's coming up very strongly in this reading. And I think that this energy that's coming in, if it's not an individual for you, Sagittarius, it really is an energy that's coming in that makes you an energetic pattern of how you kind of were in the past. And maybe this person comes back into your life and you begin to look at the way you used to be in love and be like, I can't believe I used to be so, whatever you've judged yourself as being, needy, dominating, whatever, whatever those kind of energies, we all kind of do that, look back in the past and go, oh gosh, did I really, behave like that or say those things or whatever. There's also that kind of energy around this. If it's not someone that is coming back in that you're actually reconnecting with, but maybe it's just an energetic pattern of how you were. So I hope that makes sense. But let's talk about this ego, because it's right here in the center of the reading, and right underneath it we have the release your ex. And then we also have the Six of Swords energy here. So let's just talk about these two right away. So this ego card comes in, right? We all have an ego. We all have this sense of being attached to things or wanting material items to make ourselves feel better, and or a person, something in the material world. And it's coming in right here in the center. It looks like it's associated with someone from your past, right? Because we have this release your ex, we have the reconciliation card, we have the Six of Summer. So it's for me, as I'm feeling it for you, it really is associated with someone from your past. And if they're not your ex, they're just someone that you had a connection, some kind of connection with. And you're feeling this kind of sense of possibly fear and anxiety around them, or that maybe, okay, so it could play out very differently because this is a general reading. For some of you, it could play out that there is an allure there that makes you want to go to that person, and as though they have some sort of some sort of trance on you, and you're kind of feel like you're fighting with self in some ways. And then for others of you, it's just so there's fear and anxiety around that, like, oh, I don't want to get caught back in that trap. And then for others of you, it could be someone who has an addiction or is very codependent type of energy, and you don't want to get caught back in that trap. And not that it's a trap, but it might feel that way to you. And then for others of you, it could just be that you get really, really, you just act differently around them in a way that doesn't feel in alignment with what you would consider to be your highest good. Or maybe they come back in and then you're afraid that you'll never be able to keep them. Maybe it's a brief encounter, and then you feel like, you feel like you stepped back in time in some ways, and it kind of got you back into that place of fear and anxiety and neediness. And so just remind yourself of that occurs, Sagittarius, that you are not the same person you were before. They're not the same people, and you're not the same person. And so that kind of allows you to begin to kind of pull apart that stickiness of that connection, because it feels very sticky to me here. But there's a lot of energy around it with this Princess of Spring, because this kind of feels like you kind of feeling a little bit more youthful kind of energy, where you're, footloose and fancy free, a little bit of reckless behavior connected with this energy. And so maybe that's it for some of you. Maybe that energy is more about you being more reckless in love, and now you're wanting something more stable, especially in the area of physical intimacy, because we have the Emperor energy, we have the Six of Swords, and then we have this lovely Ten of Pentacles energy. So for some of you, this Emperor could be an individual coming in who's just kind of very, I'll say, rigid in a lot of ways. Or if it's not a person coming in, it's that you're wanting to create more stability and more logic regarding this connection with this someone from your past returning, where you want to be more in control of yourself and not so reckless in your behavior. And I use the word reckless loosely. It doesn't have to be actually reckless behavior, but just more like free, like it would be when you're younger and you don't really think about the consequences as much. And then right in the center, we have the Six of Swords energy, which is a nice energy of kind of leaving behind behaviors that that you don't want to still kind of pull into the future here. There's a connection there, but you want to just make sure that it's a connection where your defenses are down. And that will help it happen more smoothly. I feel like the Six of Swords, you're not quite out of the woods yet, but you're still kind of entangled. There's a little bit of the need for secrecy around this for some reason, is how it feels. Or maybe just you don't want to be honest with yourself about this connection. It has to do with releasing your ex. And then going into the future, we have this lovely Ten of Pentacles energy where everything's kind of coming to fruition, but it's also the end of a cycle with this individual, is how it feels for me. Now, for many of you, you're happily coupled, and this won't make any sense. But when you begin to look at the energies as they come in, it may be for your partner. Maybe there's someone from the past who's come in, and they haven't really dealt with it yet, and they kind of open up to you a little bit about it, and it gets your ego involved. I don't see anyone like cheating. It's not like that type of energy. It's more like just an energy of someone from the past or a way that you were in the past coming in and wreaking a little bit of havoc during this period. Not havoc in a bad way, but just kind of the ego. I guess the ego stirred up is what I want to say. I'm going to get some additional cards on this ego. But we do have the Awakening card as the emerging energy underneath. And so all of this, we all go through patterns. We all have patterns of behavior in life, and the egoic patterns is one of them that continues on throughout our life. We just get better at mastering it and recognizing it when it comes in. But inevitably, it always leads us to understand ourselves better. And I feel like that's what's happening here with this Awakening card, because it's an underlying energy. It's an emerging energy of one where you kind of want to change your perspective. And I think it has to do with changing your perspective on either a pattern of behavior that you had in the past, Sag, or this connection with this particular individual whom you may have known, not necessarily in a love partnership, but in some sort of way. Maybe it was someone you've always crushed on that you've known for a long time, or just someone that you knew from before energy. It could also be, I have to say, Sag, it could be that there are two people who come in. One person from the recent past who's come in and who you're kind of wanting to change the way that you were with that person. And then as you go forward, it could be that someone who has a more gentle and sweet approach and nature comes in, and it feels much better and more in alignment with who you are now. Because we do have quite a bit of, lovely back and forth energy here between the Six of Summer, the Attraction card, really referring to just being present in the moment. This is kind of about romanticizing the past, someone from the past, possibly from your childhood, coming back in. And this is just asking you to, remember that you're not the same person. These are children, right? You're now a grown woman or a grown man. So remember that. But it does look like there's a lot of fullness around this, a sense of happiness and contentment there. So it's going to play out differently for everybody. It's a lot of different people, obviously, who I'm reading for. And also, we also have, excuse me, let me get a sip of my tea. Sorry, Sagittarius. So we have this let go of control issues as an underlying energy, and it goes really nicely with the ego card. So whatever, and the release your ex. Whatever this energy was in the past here, this someone from your past returning, it was a connection that really I think you thought was gonna be more than it was. Is how it feels, and the person ended up being kind of controlling, possibly, and it kind of diminished the way you felt about yourself. You felt a little bit. It kind of disempowered you, or you allowed yourself to feel disempowered. And then, so this is the ego, right? Feeling trapped, feeling as though this person has a hold over you, or maybe you're the one here, Sag, who was trying to control the situation, and it just didn't sit well with the other person, because with the let go of control issues, it's about more and more breathing. Where there's a big push to let go of control, release your ex, just allow things to be as they are now, and that will attract in more of what you want in the future here, which is, it looks like it could be someone coming in here who may be a different person than this. It's really funny as it it's almost like it's like the past is this. It's almost like you're cutting a cake. Like there's that, and there's the future, and then here's you in the center working on this egoic pattern, releasing the past, releasing your ex, clearing your energy, opening yourself up more and more to the divine, to your sense of being, a spiritual being, having this human experience, understanding more that you are not just, a human having, going to work and, doing all these things. You actually have a greater sense of place in the cosmos kind of thing. But that may not dawn on you yet, because I feel like that's part of the spiritual awakening. That's an underlying energy that's kind of coming up for you, Sagittarius. It may not be present yet, so some of you may be like, what are you talking about? But for some of you, many of you, it's an underlying energy. So you may not have moved into that energy yet, but it is there for you, coming for you. And then we also have the Four of Wands under the deck as an emergent energy, as I feel it for you, Sag. And this is very playful energy, celebratory. I feel like it goes really nicely with this. It does feel more and more to me, as I kind of feel the reading out for you, that there is this split. There was someone from your past that you're kind of dealing with here. You're releasing, you're letting go of, and then boom, here in the future, coming in, there is this idea of maybe someone that you used to know coming back in some way. Now, for those of you who are coupled, let me just say this, because I know that there are couples, people who are coupled who watch this. It's not even that someone from the past is going to come back in that and come into the cup and come in the middle of the two of you. It can also be about romanticizing the past, about looking back and remembering the way the two of you were. And this is just encouraging you to stay in the present, Sag, because even though it's nice to have those memories about the past, a lot of times when we go into the past like that and reminisce, our ego can kind of get in there and begin to be like, well, why aren't things like that anymore? The ego can really shut you down quickly, and suddenly you were having this nice sort of reminiscence, and then all of a sudden the ego comes in, and suddenly you feel terrible because, you compare it to the past and think that, oh, we used to be really romantic. We used to have sex, every day, and now it's only once a week or whatever. So, just kind of that kind of energy, and I say that because we have that ego card there. Like the ego can come in lots of different ways and kind of play with you and play with all of us. But this feels very kind of celebratory. And the more that you can incorporate more play and being in the present moment, like when you're playing, you're not thinking about the future. You're only thinking about the thing that you're playing with right here and now. And this, you attract romantic love by enjoying this moment fully. Will allow for more play and that sense of expansion. And for those of you who are single, who aren't with anybody, and don't have an ex that you're, letting go of, it could be a pattern that you demonstrated in love that you're working to shift as you go forward. Okay, Sagittarius, I hope you enjoyed your reading. I wish you much love as always, and happy holidays, and I will see you on the next video or at your private reading. Till then.